Hello, Lil Potat, and welcome to your deck review. For those of you joining us for the first time on YouTube, this is a series where I, Maldhound, a notorious hater of all things, of everything to do with your commander deck, will politely and lovingly review, these are foggy as hell, will review your commander deck's weird little PP, which is your premise and your practicum. Your premise is the idea behind your deck. For this deck, it is playing every enchantment with the name Ascension in it. And then your practicum is the stuff in the 99. It's the problems you run into. It's not having enough lands, it's not having enough card draw. I can't do anything about the Galta eating my ass on turn 5. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about their idea, what compromises they will have to make, if any, and then we'll get into the 99, what we can fix there. And I think the biggest problem here is how do we make these ascensions important? I am with the idea we only want to be in bracket 2, which gives us a lot of room to play around. The big problem, and they have correctly identified this in their own primer, these don't fucking talk to each other at all. Like, some of the stuff is generically good. You drawing cards on combat damage pretty good. Luminarch Ascension could be pretty good. Blood Chief Ascension could be very good depending on what our pod is doing. Beastmaster Ascension can work pretty well with a wide board. Archmage Ascension, generic good stuff. Like, it's just a lot of it is a lot of amorphous value that does not convert very cleanly to a win unless we are doing a Blood Chief Ascension combo or we are going pretty wide and then hoping we draw Beastmaster Ascension, but that is just one card in the deck. Now we do have Marina Vendrell to help us find them, uh, but pursuant to this, the biggest problem I see in your primer is we got weird lines about what we're willing to do and not willing to do to make the deck good. Because you talk about, I don't want to play objectively strong cards just for the sake of it. I want them to have vague synergy with what the deck does. But you also really want to avoid the deck just becoming Enchantress stuff, which is the most reasonable synergy we could go for. Because you talk about we don't have enough draw to reliably see multiple enchantments. And it feels really bad if I do my Ascension deck and I kind of dirtle in the corner because I don't have a clean win con, and then I only get Airbender Ascension out, and that's all I do all game. That feels pretty rough. So we're not willing to play good synergy pieces, and we're not willing to play good pieces that don't synergize, which leaves us with like, I'm only allowed to play really bad cards. And quite frankly, I can't even tell how Akhlazat's um would be a synergy piece. And I don't think this is totally your fault. I think this is a friction that a lot of deck builders get caught up in is they want to find their special synergy. They want to find their special recipe. And I can respect that hustle. It is not a hustle I've ever seen make anybody happy. I think a lot of times it is better to start from the generic, find something that works, and then once we find something that works, then we can, a little bit at a time, trade out the really workable stuff for the stuff that makes us smile, makes us feel like the deck is a little bit more unique. But if I look through the whole attack trigger thing, like, doesn't have really anything to do with anything, right? It can't proliferate our enchantments. It can kind of find our enchantments, but it doesn't do it very well. This is a green stompy piece. What does this guy do? Okay, is card draw. Like, I think for the it seems like most of these were picked on the premise of they are card draw, but they're not good. Which again, I respect the hustle, but is not how it's not how we make a deck that pleases us. We have to start with just, if I was able to use anything, would the core thing I want to do work? Like, this is the important bit. Like, if you use Dark Confidant to draw into it versus Reckless Detective, like, Reckless Detective isn't the part of the deck you want other people to have to engage with or have to witness going off. You want them to have to witness the ascensions going off. And so I would very heavily advise trying to divest yourself of this, like, oh, because I'm in bracket 2, every support card also has to be bad. Um, because it is just often things that leave us in a perpetual loop of like, my deck's not doing what I want, but if I make it better, it's not what I want. It's okay to have a draft where it's just like, okay, this works, but it's too much generic good stuff. But now I know that the Ascension thing works. Now, where do I compromise? So, with that said, the stuff in here that I think is like interminable dog shit is probably Preacher of the Schism, because we have to care about our own life total. Skystrike Officer. This is not enough to create a go wide game plan. I know you talked about well, Beastmaster Ascension can kind of tie up a go wide plan. This guy's really not it. Um, Stormfleet Negotiator, Tribute to Hirobi, Vampire Gourmand, Wind Swift Slice because we don't have big enough guys to create meaningful excess damage. Will of the Mardu is crazy. Swords is fine. This is insane. This is insane. Like if we want to do, if we need to recur our enchantments, we can do that. But we have like perfect synergy here would be the enchantment Court of Ardenvale. Every single ascension we want to hit, so if they ever get removed, is less than 3 mana. At minimum, we get them to hand. At maximum, we get them to battlefield. And it gives us the Monarchy, so it lets us draw a card. Now, this is $7 because obviously it's a good card, but this is the type of thing I want us to be less afraid of, at least for a first draft. Absolutely not. Run Grasp of Fate instead of this. Like it's Banishing Light and I get one thing, or I can do Banishing Light but good and I get 3 things. Let me pull up Grasp of Fate. Awaken the Honored Dead. Sure. Is an enchantment Marina Vendrell can grab. Fills our graveyard a little bit, which we don't like. But we could like, I don't know, discard. I really don't love it. Hold on, there's a 4 mana one we might like more. Mana value 4, ID Golgari type Saga. Yeah, maybe Binding of the Old Gods, because we could hit this on our curve out to enters tapped though. I still like this more. I still like this more because we're still getting a destroy non-land permanent. We should be ramping aggressively enough that the 1 mana versus 2 mana, like if anything, only having 2 pips should make this easier to cast than Awaken the Honored Dead. And I think continuing to ramp is more important than the generic mill 3, given that we do not seem to have much of a recursion package. We just have 5 cards, one of which is horribly bad. And what's going on with our ramp? Really don't like this. Yeah, devastatingly bad. Okay. That's good. That means there's a lot of upward mobility here. So what I would probably be seeking to do. You said that your table is not very aggressive in the beginning of the game. They just kind of sit back and let stuff happen. Because we have a 5 mana commander and because fixing is important, I would likely be trying to ramp on 1 with just anything. And then I would be trying to ramp on turn 2 with and then I would be trying to do more ramp that's like 3 mana that's going to get me color fixing. Farseek is actually one of my least favorite cards in the entire world for this type of deck because you really want to get to 5 specific mana really quickly. And with like the Farseeks and the Kodama's reaches, it is best case scenario, we're going to get Marina Vendrell on turn 4. If you go for 1 mana ramp and 3 mana ramp, it's very unlikely, but there is a world where you can get Marina Vendrell on turn 3. And then what we can do, we can probably play more stuff that flickers because nothing we do for card draw. Like there's a lot of other just better card draw options we could be running. Nothing we do for card draw I think is going to be as good as play Marina Vendrell early, have ways to flicker her. So for your ramp, what I would recommend you use is OTAG ramp, mana value 1. So I would be doing Birds of Paradise, Definitely Delighted Halfling. Definitely Wild Growth. Utopia Sprawl is going to be really hard for you because you have to enchant a forest, and I don't think we can lean your land base so heavy as to be mostly forest. So I won't recommend Utopia Sprawl. Ignoble Hierarch, Gilded Goose, Noble Hierarch. You could do Elves of Deep Shadow, but only fixing for two colors instead of minimum three is a little bit rough. Um, Fungus can be pretty useful as well. Never bad to be able to blow up somebody else's soul ring. Never bad to be able to replace itself and then get you a card on turn two if you like really brick on everything. And then do we have other? I love Sky Shroud Claim. I love Kodama's Reach. I love Cultivate. I do not love Copy Land. I think this one is just in here because we're like, hey, is enchantment. And this is also where I think it would be valuable to you to, if you want things to be synergistic, but there is a limit to how good they can be if they're not synergistic. Um, I think you in your primer said like, it's enough if like they're just enchantments. I think you will find it's easier. You said strong cards are fine, but they need at least some vague synergy with what the deck does. Do not leave this vague. There are any number of synergies I could set up for you, but I found when I build these decks, when I see other people build and play decks like this, people think it is easier if they make the restrictions looser. It is easier if you make the restrictions tighter, because once you make the restrictions really tight, either searching in Scryfall or searching in your own memory is much, much cleaner because you have very clear yeses, you have very clear nos. So I would give yourself um, clearer yeses and nos on what counts as ascending? Like, does everything in the deck have to be an enchantment, or you could do some type of more like amorphous ideal of everything in the deck has to ascend in some way. So ramp makes me ascend in mana. My the only card draw I'm allowed to play is stuff like Insight Engine, which is going up stepwise every turn, right? Like that would be dumb and silly, which is perfect for bracket two, and it also gives you an ability to lean harder into proliferate stuff with like you already had an exorable tide, but we could jam more of that in there and then be like, okay, and then for our board, we could try to parlay that into like I don't know how the fuck Oxdrover is ascending. I'm gonna keep it real. We're getting other people's cattle up. Like there would be some stretches for sure, but that could let you lean more into plus one counters, right? They're ascending in power, and then when you proliferate those, there are many things that when you put a plus, not many things. There are some things that when you put a plus one counter on them, it will get you a creature. That fucking guy that goes, yeah, like Basking Brood Scale, like boom, now we get the wide board. That'll work for Beastmaster Ascension as well. Um, but no matter what you do with this deck, I would define those lines very clearly for yourself. And then I think you will have way less trouble figuring out how the synergies all come together. But the first thing I would do, no matter what, make an honest effort at ramping on turn one, and then try to have more like 3 mana. I get 2 mana worth of stuff. The greediest one I'm going to recommend is Gwenna. And I think this one's a huge maybe. I love this in almost all of my green decks because any deck I play that has green is trying to cast big fucked up creatures. You have many big fucked up enchantments you're trying to play, but this would get you to Marina Vendrell um, very, very quickly. Oh, oh, that would be nice. But that is a greedy one. Let's look at mana value. I wonder if I can do 3 or 4. No. So we're gonna do greater than or equal to 3, mana value less than or equal to 4. I put a dash in there. There we go. So what are we missing? If you went with a flicker, if we put more flicker in the deck to help with Marina Vendrell's card advantage, Solemn Simulacrum becomes your goat again because flickering him is not as terrible. Like if we don't have Marina Vendrell out for some reason. Mm, I don't think you care about massive and huge ramp. You could do Harrow, but that only nets you one. And we don't have a ton of power 4 or greater to get us 3 lands out of this. Burnished Heart. Burnished Heart is cute, but a lot of mana because we have to take turn 2 off, then turn 3 off to double ramp this. We could do Fabro Elder, but this is like I get a million mana once I have Marina Vendrell down. It doesn't help us get to Marina Vendrell mana. This guy just adds green, so we're not as in love with that. Could we... This one, I think, up to your discretion, if it is worth it to present this to your table. Because if I was in a bracket 2 table where people weren't going crazy, going stupid on it immediately, we could just kind of like verbally handshake, hey, does everybody want to get a basic? And then I'll get enough basics to be good for the rest of the game. We don't want to do Splendid Wreck. You could be a fucking crazy person and do Descent into Avernus. That's kind of funny. Ascending, descending, a little bit of juxtaposition there. I can get behind that. And then you could do like Migration Path, Explosive Vegetation, but then we're getting pretty desperate. So after we fix the ramp up a little bit, we definitely want to have more ways to flicker Marina Vendrell. How are we going to flicker Marina Vendrell? We have Airbender Ascension. We could bring basic stuff like Ephemerate. I would love to have things that hold double duty. So, Parting Gust. This can get rid of an opponent's creature forever, or it can get rid of our creature for one turn, and then she comes back on end step. There's another guy who it would be difficult to justify how he was ascending, but there is a creature that can do it from Edge of Eternities. Find this guy. Okay, we might be able to justify it with Thelia, because it's coming back with a +1/+1 counter. Oh no, it comes back and Thelia gets a +1/+1 counter. She is ascending. See? This is how we cope. This is how we cope. This guy's not ascending. You could do like... You could do Gilran. You could do Kaikar. He flies. By necessity, he is ascending. You can just go, look at him. He's in the air. And this gives us, if we have a lot of non-creature spells, we can flicker Marina Vendrell to keep finding the enchantments we want. Playing the enchantments we want will let us flicker her again. Or if we have enough, they're all cheap. We just bam, 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 bam. We make our big wide board, and they're flying, so they're going to work better with Waterbending Ascension. This will help us go wide for Beastmaster Ascension. We can use them as blockers for the for Luminarch Ascension. Okay. I really hope that you're on board with this definition of ascending that I'm going with, because I really think it's the shits. What other useful... Oh, this guy. So I don't fucking know how we justify them as ascending, but they are 20 cents. So I'm gonna hope that they are like weak enough that they fly under the radar here. Because we can warp them in, and for 2 mana, we can flicker our commander for 1 turn, or we can play them for 4 mana, and then it's just a Fiend Hunter, and they just stay under. Similar to that, another thing we're going to like is Touch the Spirit Realm. Same thing. For 2 mana, we can flicker our commander for 1 turn. For 3 mana, we can get rid of something for a decent length of time. And then I think we can really get it going on... I'm going to take turns 1 and 2 to ramp. Turns 3 and 4, I'm hopefully going to either play Marina Vendrell or play something that is going to blink Marina Vendrell, or maybe I will play Interaction. So what type of enchantment, OTAG, removal do we got? As much as I can, I would like the things you pull with Marina Vendrell to work. So we could put in Darksteel Mutations, crazy. Imprisoned in the Moon is crazy. Annie joins up, low-key crazy. Like 5 damage hits most creatures in the game, and this will double trigger Marina Vendrell if we get some type of like God Hand. Would be turn 1 ramp, turn 2 ramp, turn 3 Annie joins up. I shoot whoever got a Soul Ring start. I shoot their commander. Turn 4, I play Marina Vendrell. She triggers twice. I check the top 14. Hopefully get some Ascensions. Hopefully get something that can flicker her, and then I can do it again, and then from that point on, I have enough Ascensions that I'm happy with what's going on. So where was the O tag I was just looking at? Enchantment removal. Okay. Oh, Amphibian Downpour is you might have this already. Oh, hold on, my fault. Hold on. You have it already. Yeah, you crazy for that one. That's a great one. I'm down with Aang's Iceberg for the same reason as these ones that can act as like flow flickers for our own commander. There's Song of the Dryads. I don't think we love that. Uh, Virtue of Persistence does not really save us. You could do Eldest Reborn. I'm a big fan of Edict effects. I don't love Summon Yojimbo here. Hmm. Wobblet is way too much for bracket 2. This is just putting. This is doing the ascending thing. I just don't think it's good enough. Okay, this guy's making people ascend, but he's like, but we can't find him with our commander. A lot of mana a lot of mana to do. Okay. Legend of Yang Chen would be crazy. So this um can hit a ton of stuff, might hit nothing, does ascend because it is a saga, lets you secret rendezvous with somebody, and when it flips, we can airbend our commander and play her again for 2 mana, thereby digging deeper in the deck to go get these ascensions. She flies, meaning she's better for Waterbender Ascension, better for getting the damage thrown Beastmaster Ascension. And then and I think this is already like a lot of stuff I'm telling you to put in, but I really believe in all of it. I think the last bit that I would want to sort out is, are there any other proliferate shenanigans? Oh, okay. My fault. My bad. Are there any other? Oh, I guess I can just use Oracle. What am I doing? Oracle proliferate. Okay, so Tezzeret's Gambit. I don't love this card, but it is like just it's broadly good. It'll pick you up new cards. We can do it on turn 2 if we got 1 mana ramp and we had 2 lands, but we did not have other stuff to make the hand good. This could save that opening hand. It could proliferate all of our ascensions later. Um, Lux Channeler could go crazy because we're hopefully going to be casting a ton of non-creature spells. I would not do Tekethal. I would consider Sword of Truth and Justice. I would consider Atomize for your removal. Mm. You can keep Agent Frank Horrigan. He is very funny. Lulu's also crazy good. Oh, but you said people aren't really nickel and diming through combat damage, so maybe we don't worry about Lulu for your specific table. Um, oh, if you were going to do any of those more expensive ramp cards, this is pretty bad, but it's pretty cute. I've used it in some brawl decks, and it doesn't throw the game too hard. This can get you some lands, or you can choose to get none and just double proliferate. Which, if we have Ascensions out, if we're doing anything with like +1/+1 counters, I know, yeah, Earthbender Ascension is, that would really go crazy. And then the only other things I might add is stuff that can put is leaning more into that broader definition of everything in the deck must ascend, and putting a few things that are either have +1/+1 counters or have a way to get +1/+1 counters. And then I think you're home free and it's really working. I think we just got too focused on what we needed to avoid and did not tunnel vision enough on what do we need to make special, how do we get to it, how do we spam it, bam, 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 bam. So if anybody in the comments has a different idea, please let me know. Otherwise, I wish you the very best, and I do hope this helps.